All right, now that I got the cowl out of there, I'm going to wire wheel this area here, get some of that rust out of there, and start test fitting the new cowl. I've already taken a grinder and knocked some of the metal off of here that was stuck on there. Okay, I cleaned this up the best I could with the wire wheel. Did a pretty good job, but there's some areas that I just can't quite get to, and while I've got this out, I might as well sandblast it. So that's what I'm going to do. I put up a welding blanket here to try and keep the sand from going everywhere. I'm also going to do the back of the dash here. So I've taken off the clips that the dash mounts to. There were two there. There's two here. This is a flasher holder. I'm going to take that off. And then there's 3 clips across the top here. So once I get that off, then I'll use my little spot blaster over here. I don't have room for a big pressurized sandblaster, so I just used the little spot blaster, rigged it up with a coffee can here, zip tied the thing in there so it stands up. Use that. First thing I do is sweep out the floor, and that way whenever I'm done sandblasting, I can sweep up my sand and reuse it. So let's take that apart and blast it. All right, I got this all sandblasted. Got it looking pretty good there. I mean, it's not perfect, but then again, neither am I. So yeah, I did up in there and all around there and all in there. Let's go across and did a little bit in here. I'll probably come back and do some more, but I'm kind of tired of it. Tired of sandblasting right now, and it's good enough that I can test fit the new lower cowl. All right, there's the cowl just laid in there, and you can see I've got it backlit so you can see the crack maybe right in between there. You see the light? Yeah, that's where there's a gap. It fits pretty tight up along in here. There's just a little bit of a gap. I've done some adjustment on this, but I need to beat this down. Hammer this area here down. You can see there's a gap in the back here as well. So I've got to tweak that and make that fit in there. Other than that, it's looking pretty good. Same thing on the other side. I think it's a little tighter over here actually. If we take a look, you can see the gap there, right in there, and then it's nice and tight right up there. But same thing down here, a little bit of a gap, but just a block of wood and a hammer ought to fix that pretty quick. Let's see what happens. While I'm moving the metal around on that cowl, hitting it with a big hammer and a block of wood just isn't quite doing what I need it to, so I made a couple tools here. This is 3/4 inch round stock. This is sucker rod that came out of a old oil well that somebody was throwing away, so I grabbed some of it. I rounded the one end of it so it wouldn't cut the metal, and then hit it with the hammer, and it moves it quite well. For fine, small areas, I got a piece here that I cut off at a 45-degree angle, and then I blunted the end a little bit, so again it wouldn't cut the metal, but instead stretch it out. That worked awesome. And for the flat areas, I use this piece of, I think this is 1/8 inch or 3/16, and just put it along the flat area and then beat it flat, and worked way better than that block of wood. All right, after a little bit of gentle persuasion, I was able to close up that gap along there. See how tight that is? It's so nice. Still have a gap in here, and I figure what I'll do is get this part good on both sides, and then I'll pull it off and I'll actually hammer and dolly this out and stretch it out a bit so it fills in that gap a little bit nicer. Yeah, a little better lighting, and you can see the gap along this area here. But nothing that the little hammer work ain't gonna fix. Check out this side over here. Yeah, you can see that gap there. Right in there. We'll fix that. And as well along down in here. You see how the light's shining up through there? Yeah, we're gonna fix all that. Get her fitting in here real nice, and then move on. All right, I got this side contoured to fit, and now I'm gonna pull it off and hammer and dolly the insides. Yeehaw. All right, a little hammer and dolly work along there. She's fitting good and tight along there. Looks good across the front. Nice and lined up. I think I want to go ahead and try the dash. Let's fit the dash on here and see how well that looks. All right, I got the dash on here. Just kind of test fitting it. I know before, whenever I looked at it, these corners were up pretty high. They're still up a fair amount. I mean, this has got to lay in here and get welded. But that's okay, because it can take in some adjustment. They don't have the reference tabs. I'll show you what I'm talking about. On the old cowl and dash, where the dash comes in contact with the cowl, there's a little reference tab there. So you butt that up against it and it's not going to go anywhere. On the new cowl, they don't have a good stamping in here, and it looks like they just kind of cut this out after the fact. Let's see if we can't take the clamps off. And yeah, see how there's no rolled edge? There's a rolled edge here, and then it just stops. And I think whenever they stamp this, maybe this wasn't real clear or whatever. And then the new dash here doesn't have that reference tab. So I've got to try and guess at where this should line up. Now, luckily I didn't destroy this guy too bad whenever I took it apart. So I should be able to use it to kind of reference this, as well as the main thing here is getting the windshield to lay in flush. So you've got this piece here that has the slight transition right across here. And I figure if I line up the transition in this panel with that transition, then I should be good. But I'm not going to continue on adjusting this or the lower cowl, because I'm going to do something different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cowl and the dash off and patch in the toe boards here, where this is all rusty, and I've cut some of it out, as well as this subframe mount support. I'm going to patch that in. Same thing on the passenger side. I think the subframe mount is okay on that side. I've got some patch panels here that I picked up back whenever I thought that this project was going to be easy. I bought these online off of classicindustries.com. And yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing. And stay tuned. Okay, so I took the upper dash and the lower cowl and stored those up in the rafters. And now I'm going to work on patching in these toe boards. I've got a patch panel here and the rusty, crusty, dirty old toe boards right there. I've got to figure out how much of this that I want to cut out and how much of this patch panel that I want to cut out and use. I'm going to start with the passenger side, because the driver's side has got that subframe mount, which is right there, which I don't have a full plan yet to deal with. This should be fairly easy and straightforward, except for the toe board goes down in front of the inner rocker. There's the inner rocker, there's the toe board. Toe board slides down in front of that and is sandwiched between this inner rocker and the subframe support there. And there's a little piece here. See, your rocker goes across here, your inner rocker, and then this flap goes down in front of the rocker. I'll pull my light over here and show you what I'm talking about. Ooh, that's right. Okay, down here in front, you've got your subframe mount, which is this piece here. Beautiful piece, looks great. Comes down and around, and then right over here is where that stops. And you can see there's spot welds where it's welded to that toe board. This is that flap on the toe board. See here how it's rusted out? I want to fit that in so that it comes down in here and fills that in. As well as right over here, we've got multiple layers of metal, because you've got the subframe mount is on the outside, and then you've got the toe board, I believe, comes down in here, and then you've got the floorboard, which actually sandwiches in there, and then you've got the inner rocker back on this side. So you've got multiple layers in here that I've got to try and peel back without completely destroying. It's a little easier to see on the other side, but that's because it's all rusted and cut out of there. But I'll focus on this area first and see if I can't cut some of this rotted old stuff out of here. I sandblasted this whenever I was sandblasting, so it's nice and clean, and you can see where all the junk is. I guess before I start cutting this toe board out, I should probably cut some of this floor out so that I've got some access in here and actually get to this front edge here and see what all I need to do here. There we go, just a nice little hole so that I can see what I'm working on. I've still got to take off the front of the floor pan, which is attached right along there with spot welds. And then I can start cutting out the rest of the bullshit. That was a surprisingly large amount of work, getting that ribbon off there, but now I can see how bad this toe board is and start cutting that out. See what I got under there. All right, now we're starting to make a hole. Yeah, that lower support there, that subframe mount, is a little rusty and crusty, but I think it's savable. We'll see. I've got to cut a much larger hole here to really know, but I've got a good start on it. Okay, I think before I go any further with cutting out, I'm going to take a break and do a little bit of planning and find out how much of this I need to cut out across here to replace, and then as well figure out how I'm going to get the pieces in behind the rocker there and that subframe support. I'll go ahead and upload this video, and I'll keep working. Stay tuned.